My husband kicked me out, calling me an ugly, worthless housewife. Little did he know, I'm the heir to a billion-dollar empire, and his mistake would cost him everything. Watch how a woman, once broken and ignored, returns to claim what's hers, and the shocking twist that no one saw coming. From rejection to revenge. This story will leave you speechless. Will she get the justice she deserves, or will the past continue to haunt her? The rain hit the pavement like tiny needles. Cold wind rushed through the cracked window. My hands trembled as I clutched the plastic grocery bag. Water leaked through my worn-out shoes. He stood by the door, arms crossed, eyes full of disgust. "You embarrass me," he said, voice sharp like glass. I stepped inside, dripping. The house smelled like bleach and old secrets. "Your face," he sneered. "Your hair, look at you." My throat tightened. He grabbed the bag from my hand and tossed it. Vegetables scattered on the floor. "You are not the woman I married. You tricked me. You are ugly." Each word hit harder than the last. "I want you out. Now." My heart pounded like drums in a dark tunnel. I blinked through tears, the living room spinning. Our wedding photo still hung on the wall. Smiling faces. Lies in frames. He opened the door. The storm outside seemed warmer than the cold in his voice. I stepped into the night. The door slammed behind me like a final sentence. My fingers dug into the pocket of my coat. I pulled out the envelope. Still sealed. The name on it burned through the paper. Legacy transfer. Confidential. My breath caught. I opened it under the streetlight. Thick letter. Gold-trimmed paper. Name. My inheritance. The wind howled as I read the words. Effective immediately. You are the sole heir to the Ainsworth global empire. Lightning cracked. Thunder followed like applause. My lips parted. Not from joy. From the bitter taste of irony. He never asked where I came from. He never saw past his own pride. The house behind me faded into shadow. A cheap cage for a shallow man. I walked on. Water soaked through every layer of me. But I was burning. Burning with the truth he would never expect. My footsteps echoed down the empty road. A limo waited at the corner. The driver opened the door with a bow. I sat in silence. The leather seats smelled like power. The city lights blurred past the window. My phone buzzed. His name on the screen. Begging. I stared at it. Felt nothing. The message read, "Come back. I made a mistake." Typed one word. "Mo." And pressed send. The screen dimmed. Silence returned. Only the hum of the engine filled the air. Leaned back. Let my head rest against the seat. The weight on my chest lifted slowly, painfully. Memories flickered like broken film. Every insult. Every slammed door. Every time I begged to be seen. Now he sees. But it is too late. The limo turned down a private road. Tall gates opened without a sound. Beyond them, a mansion stood under the moonlight. White stone walls. Towering glass windows. Flames danced in the hearth behind the doors. A butler stepped forward. He bowed. "Welcome home, Miss Ainsworth." A word I had forgotten the meaning of. My heels clicked softly on the marble floor. Warmth wrapped around me like silk. A scent of jasmine and cedar filled the air. "Your grandfather left everything in your name," the butler said. "The board is waiting to meet you tomorrow." I nodded, numb. I climbed the grand staircase. My fingers brushed the polished rail. In the bedroom, a fire crackled. The sheets were pressed. A dress waited on the bed. Black velvet, elegant, powerful. I stood before the mirror. No makeup. No designer mask. Still me. Still strong. I touched the scar on my cheek. The one he hated. The one I had hidden. Now I traced it like a crown. Proof of survival. Proof of fire. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Longer this time. "I was wrong. I miss you. I need you. Please come back." My hand hovered over the screen. Then I turned it off. Not out of anger. Not revenge. Because I had no space left for anything small. And he was so small. The night outside was endless. But for the first time I was not afraid of it. I walked to the balcony, looked out over the gardens. Lanterns glowed in the dark like stars fallen to earth. Below, staff moved like quiet shadows, all waiting for my word, my command. Closed my eyes, and let the silence crown me. Morning crept in, soft and golden. Sunlight spilled across the silk sheets. Birdsong drifted through the open window. I rose without hesitation. No alarm, no barking voice beside me. I dressed in silence. The velvet dress hugged my frame like it knew me. I pinned my hair back, let my scar show. Downstairs breakfast waited. Fresh fruit, warm bread, black coffee in porcelain cups. "Car is ready, Miss Ainsworth," the butler said. His voice calm, steady, like everything would now be. The boardroom was carved in stone and shadow. Men in suits sat in a crescent. Whispers stopped as I entered. They stood, one by one. Respect painted across their faces. A woman to fear. A woman they once overlooked. I took the seat at the head. Leather. Cold but it fit. The papers lay before me. Contracts. Heirs. Legacy. They waited for my word. For my voice. A voice that once begged to be heard behind a locked door. Now it commanded empires. I signed my name. Low. Precise. Final. Applause erupted. Polite. But real. One man leaned forward. "We never expected you to step in so soon," he said. "I heard your husband was dismissive." I met his gaze. Held it. He was. "But I am not here to be expected." The room stilled. And then nodded. After the meeting, I walked alone through the garden. Roses lined the path. Sharp thorns beneath soft petals. My phone buzzed again. This time a photo. On the porch of our old house. A suitcase beside him. Is red. Face crumpled. "Please," the message read. "I have nothing without you." I stared at the screen. Let it sit in my palm. He had nothing. Had less once. And built it all into everything. Took a breath. Typed only 4 words. I had nothing too. And blocked the number. The wind picked up. Carried away the weight. Carried away him. The sun rose higher. And I walked deeper into the life that was always mine. The mansion stood behind me, tall and unwavering. Kept walking. Down the stone path. Past the whispering trees. Every step felt heavier. But not from sorrow. From power. From purpose. I reached the far end of the estate. A greenhouse stretched wide under glass. Inside, orchids bloomed in perfect silence. The scent was rich. Sweet and strange. Like secrets wrapped in petals. My fingers brushed the stem of a white orchid. Delicate. But not weak. I remembered the day he said I was too soft. That softness would ruin me. But softness had roots. And now it held the weight of an empire. A young woman entered the greenhouse. Clipboard in hand. Nervous eyes. She bowed. "Miss Ainsworth," she said. "Your father's lawyer is waiting." He nodded. Followed her back through the garden. Past the roses. Past the stone angels. In the study, the lawyer stood by the fireplace. Oh man. Sharp suit. Eyes that missed nothing. He handed me another folder. "This is the final asset transfer. There is one more property in your name." Opened it. Froze. Address. His address. The old house. A house. He no longer owned it. I did. The floor beneath me seemed to shift. Not from shock. From the perfect, cruel symmetry. "Do you want it sold?" the lawyer asked. "No," I said. "I will visit it." He nodded. "No rush. It is fully under your control." Those words echoed. Under your control. Everything he feared. Everything he tried to break. Later that day I stood at the front gate. The same gate he had once locked behind me. Now I unlocked it. The creak of rusted hinges welcomed me. The garden was overgrown. The house leaned with wear. I stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and memory. Peeling wallpaper. Faded curtains. A ghost of a life once lived. In the living room our photo still hung. I stared at it. Two strangers smiling, pretending. Took it down, held it in my hands, then placed it gently face down on the table. This was no longer a monument to pain. It was evidence of how far I had risen, of what he threw away. I turned toward the stairs. The silence behind me felt like applause. The stairs groaned beneath my feet. Each step an echo of forgotten arguments, of nights I cried alone, of mornings I smiled through clenched teeth. The hallway was dim. Light leaked through a cracked window. Dust danced in the beams like tiny ghosts. Paused at the bedroom door. My old sanctuary. My old prison. Pushed it open. The scent hit me first. Old perfume. Faded laundry. Grief soaked into the carpet. The mirror stood where I had left it, still cracked at the corner. A reflection split in two. I stepped closer. Stared at the woman looking back. She was not the same. Her eyes held storms now. Her shoulders carried legacies. Her skin glowed with the fire of survival. I opened the closet. Empty hangers swung gently, mocking how quickly he erased me. On the floor, in the corner. Single shoe. Forgotten. Picked it up. The heel was worn. The leather cracked. Smiled. Then placed it on the dresser like a relic. A reminder of the woman who walked away. Suddenly a noise downstairs. The front door creaked. A step. Turned. Waited. Not with fear, but calm. He appeared in the hallway below. His silhouette small. Shrunken. He looked up. His wide mouth open. As if seeing me for the first time. I stayed silent. Let the quiet stretch. Let him feel it. You came back, he said, voice cracking. I took one slow step down. Then another. Eyes locked on his. His suit was wrinkled. Hair uncombed. Shoes muddy. Not the man who once mocked me for wearing the same coat twice. I live here now, I said. Steady. Sharp. True. He blinked. What do you mean? I bought it. It is mine. His breath caught. Face pale. Why? I smiled without warmth. To remind myself what I survived. He opened his mouth, but the words died on his tongue. I passed him. Close enough for him to smell the perfume of power. Victory. The kind he never let me wear. The door I paused. Looked over my shoulder. This house, I said, will never feel like home again. Then I walked into the light. And let the door close behind me. The sun hit my face as I stepped outside. Warm. Blinding. Unforgiving. The door shut with a hollow thud. Behind it, the past curled in on itself. Powerless. I stood on the cracked porch. Paint peeling. Wood soft with rot. The kind of decay that starts quiet, then devours everything. He did not follow. Of course he would not. He never followed. Only pushed. My car waited at the curb. Black. Polished. Unbothered by time or rain. Opened the door. Slid into the driver's seat. The engine purred like it belonged to someone untouchable. In the rearview mirror, I caught one last glimpse of the house. Faded curtains waving like a hand too slow to matter. My chest rose. Then fell. Then settled. A long breath. Clean break. I drove in silence. No music. No distractions. Only the sound of tires kissing pavement. The city came into view like a waking giant. Skyscrapers slicing the sky. Glass and steel reflecting my future. At the Ainsworth Tower, the valet bowed. Called me ma'am. Opened the door like I was born royalty. Inside, the marble floors gleamed. The lobby pulsed with quiet wealth. Not loud. Not showy. Just undeniable. A woman approached, tablet in hand. You have a press meeting in 1 hour, she said. Would you like your usual coffee order? Yes. Simple. Enough. I stepped into the private elevator. Walls of glass. Skyline unfolding with each passing floor. Near the top. Floor no one else could access. My name etched in gold by the door. The office was untouched. Wide desk. Tall windows. Silence filled with power. I sat in the leather chair. Crossed my legs. Turned my face to the city. No one would ever say I was just a housewife again. No one would ever see me as less. He was still in that house. Still stuck. Still blaming. Still waiting for someone to save him. But I had saved myself. And now the world would have to watch me rise. The skyline stretched before me. A kingdom of glass and ambition. Reflections of power danced across the windows. Every building held stories. But none like mine. I stood. Walked to the window. Pressed my hand against the cold glass. Felt the pulse of the city beneath it. Somewhere out there. He sat in silence. Maybe wondering what he lost. Maybe cursing it. Maybe still believing I would return. But I was not returning. Not to him. Not to the version of myself he had tried to keep small. Knock on the door. Ushes. The assistant peeked in. Your press conference is ready. He nodded. Straightened my shoulders. Checked my reflection in the dark glass. There was no fear in my eyes. Only fire. The conference room brimmed with flashing cameras. Whispers. Curious stares. Everyone wanted to see the forgotten wife. Now seated on a billion-dollar throne. I stepped to the podium. Every step echoed. Measured. Unapologetic. The room fell silent. I looked out at the faces. Executives. Journalists. Doubters. And I began. My name is Evelyn Ainsworth. I was once underestimated. Dismissed. Discarded. But I am here now. Not because I married into power. But because I am power. Flashes exploded like fireworks. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I saw jaws clench. Eyes widen. My past is not a weakness. It is my foundation. I built strength in silence. And now the silence is over. I stepped back. Let the words hang in the air. Let them settle like thunder after lightning. The room erupted. Cameras, questions, applause. But I turned away. Left them reaching, grasping, hungry. The elevator doors closed behind me. And in that quiet space, smiled. Not for them. Not for the cameras. But for the woman who once stood in the rain. Alone. Broken. Unseen. She was gone now. Buried. And in her place, a queen had risen. The elevator hummed as it climbed. Heir. Past the offices, past the noise, to the private floor that bore only one name, mine. The doors opened into silence. Clean. Controlled. Glass walls reflected a woman they could no longer dismiss. I walked to the desk, set my phone down. A new message waited. Not from him. From a name I had nearly forgotten. Margot Sullivan. The investigator I hired months ago. The subject line froze my breath. We found her. My finger hovered. Then tap. Evelyn. Your mother is alive. She has been living under a new identity in Marseille since 1997. The documents, photos, and her contact number are attached. My knees nearly buckled. I grabbed the edge of the desk. Heart thundering. For years I was told she abandoned us. That she ran. That she died. But none of it had been true. I opened the photo. An older woman. Gray streaks in her hair. Eyes too familiar. Eyes I had seen in mirrors. In dreams. My fingers trembled. I touched the screen like it could reach back. A knock at the door. This time firmer. Intentional. Cleared my throat. Steeled my voice. Come in. Margot entered. Unbothered by chaos. I thought you should hear it in person, she said. She is waiting for your call. Sep. Nodded slowly. Why now? She was protecting you, Margot said. She feared your father. Chill ran through me. His name. His shadow. Still reaching. But it would not touch me now. Picked up the phone. Dialed the number. Rang once. Hello. Voice. Raspy. Familiar like a forgotten song. Could not speak. Not yet. Evelyn. And just like that. Dam broke. Tears I did not know I held fell. Silently. Freely. Yes, I whispered. It's me. The silence between us pulsed with years. With questions. With a, I thought I lost you, she said. No, I replied. You were taken from me. And now I was taking everything back. Piece by piece. Memory by memory. Power. Truth. Bloodline. This was not just my story anymore. It was hers too. And it was far from over, her breath hitched on the other end. Quiet inhale. As if she too had been holding it for decades. I watched you grow from a distance, she said. I saw your graduation in a newspaper clipping. I knew you would survive. Survive. Not live. Not thrive. Survive. And I had. But only just. Her voice wavered. I wanted to come back. But he stopped. The name refused to pass her lips. I did not need it. I knew who he was. My father. The man who made monsters out of silence. Who buried the truth and fed me lies. He told me she died in a fire. Fire she set. A fire meant to erase her. But the only fire was his. The kind that scorches without flame. I want to see you, I said. Firm. Immediate. No space for hesitation. I want that too, she whispered. Margot, still in the room, gave me a nod. I can arrange the jet by tonight. I ended the call with a promise. I'm coming for you. I stood. Straightened my coat. Looked out at the city one more time. It would wait for me. It owed me that. That night, the jet sliced through the dark sky. Quiet. Efficient. Private. Below, cities blinked like forgotten memories. I watched the stars. My mother's photo in hand. In it, her eyes carried something mine once lacked. Oh, not in others, but in herself. I would carry that now. Not just as an heir. Not just as a woman who had been thrown away. But as the daughter of a woman who refused to disappear. Hours later we landed. Marseille was still asleep. The air was heavy with salt and citrus. Car waited. Unmarked. Engine purring like it knew the gravity of this night. We drove through narrow streets. Past shuttered cafes. Past silent windows that had watched years drift by. Then the car stopped. A stone cottage stood at the end of a path. Warm light glowed behind lace curtains. My breath caught. This was it. I stepped out. Walked slowly. Every crunch of gravel beneath my feet pulled the past closer. I raised my hand to knock. Not from fear, but from the weight of finally arriving. Then I knocked. Once. The door opened. And there she stood. Older. Thinner. But still her. Still mine. Her hands flew to her mouth. Eyes wide with disbelief. I stepped forward. And for the first time in a lifetime, my mother held me. Tightly. Desperately. Like she had waited through every second of every year just to do this. And I let her. Because I had waited too. Her embrace was trembling. Fingers clutching the back of my coat. As if I might vanish again. But I was real. Solid. Here. Her scent was faint lavender and old paper. Comforting. A memory I did not know I remembered. We stood there in silence. No need for words. Not yet. She pulled back just enough to look at me. Tears shining in her eyes. One slipped down her cheek. She did not wipe it. I thought you might hate me, she said. Voice barely above a whisper. I was taught to. My voice steadier than I felt. But I don't. Her lip trembled. She nodded slowly. Then stepped aside. Come in, love. The warmth of the cottage enveloped me. The air smelled of chamomile tea and wood smoke. The kind of warmth no mansion could buy. Framed photographs lined the mantel. Old books filled uneven shelves. A quilt draped over the worn sofa. It was a life. Not grand, but real. She led me to the kitchen. The kettle hissed softly on the stove. Cups already waiting. I make tea when I'm nervous, she said with a shy smile. Smiled back. I make deals. She laughed. Fragile sound. But it grew stronger. We sat across from each other. Steam curling between us like fog lifting from a long-forgotten road. Why did you leave? I asked. My voice gentler than I expected. She looked down at her tea. Stirred it once. Because staying meant losing myself. And they told me I had already lost you. I felt the old ache rise. The one shaped like a question with no answer. They lied, I said. He lied. She nodded. Her knuckles whitened around the cup. I should have fought harder. But I was afraid. Not just of him, but of who I had become. I understand now, I said. More than I ever wanted to. She reached across the table, her hand covering mine. No rings, no polish, just truth. You survived him, she whispered. And look at you now. I met her eyes. Eyes that had watched me from shadows. Eyes that had never stopped searching. He made me strong, I said. But he never broke me. Outside, the sky began to lighten. Soft pink bled into the horizon. New day. One we would face together. For the first time. Not in secret. Not in silence. But side by side. The light crept slowly across the wooden floor, touching every crack, every scar. Just like truth had begun to touch us. She rose from the table, walked to the small cabinet beside the stove. Her fingers hesitated, then pulled open the drawer. She returned with a small box. Faded velvet, edges worn soft with time. She placed it in front of me. Her hands shook. I kept this for you. I opened the lid. Inside, necklace. Gold, delicate, with a sapphire pendant. Teeny, but heavy with meaning. I wore it the day you were born, she said. It was the only thing I took with me when I ran. The sapphire caught the early morning light. And for a moment it looked like a teardrop on fire. I lifted it slowly, the chain cold against my skin. I fastened it around my neck, a weight I was proud to carry. Her eyes brimmed again. But this time there was no shame in them, only pride. I thought he had destroyed everything, she said. But he did not destroy you. I stood and reached for her hand. I want you to come with me. She blinked. Where? Home. To the world that should have known your name as well as mine. She hesitated, then nodded. Slow, deliberate promise. But there's something else, I added. The company, the inheritance. It is not just mine anymore. She looked up, brows knit. What do you mean? I want you on the board. As my mother. As the woman who survived him before I even knew how. She stepped back stunned. But I have nothing, no business degree, no background. You have the truth. You have strength. And you have me. A long silence settled between us. I never thought I would be needed again. You were always needed. They just made you believe otherwise. The sun was fully up now. Golden light spilling across the room, illuminating everything we once lost. She reached for her coat. The same one she had worn in the photo. Faded blue. Buttons loose. But she stood taller now. Let's go, she said. Let's show them what they left behind. And together we stepped out into the morning. Into a world that had no idea what was coming. The gravel crunched beneath our feet. The sea breeze carried salt and a quiet defiance. She walked beside me. No longer a ghost from the past. But a woman stepping back into her name. The car door opened with a soft click. She hesitated, eyes lingering on the cottage. There are memories here, she said. Good ones. Yes. She smiled faintly. No. But they are mine. He nodded. Sometimes we carry the weight. Not because we want to, but because it shaped the spine we stand with. The drive to the airstrip was silent. Not from distance, but from peace. When we arrived, the jet waited. Its sleek frame glinting beneath the morning sun. The stairs lowered slowly, as if inviting not passengers, but a reckoning. Inside, she ran her fingers over the leather seats. His wide. She had lived simply, hidden. Now she sat in a machine built for power. Does it scare you? Yes. She looked at me. No, she said. It reminds me that fear is smaller than I thought. The engines roared. But we were calm. Two women. Two survivors. One story finally finding its voice. As we soared above clouds, I opened my laptop. Boardroom notes. Shareholder data. The empire I now commanded. But I clicked away. Opened a draft. A new press release. Evelyn Ainsworth appoints unknown advisor to executive board. Subtitle: The woman who raised her strength. She glanced over at the screen. Read the headline. Said nothing. But her eyes shone. Not with pride. With return. We touched down just after noon. The city shimmered in the heat. Waiting. Buzzing. Unaware. As we stepped into the black car waiting at the runway. Check my phone. Message. From him. You're making a fool of yourself. Come back before it's too late. I stared at the words. Cold. Mull. Like the man who sent them. I handed her the phone. Let her read it. She looked at me. So, she said. He still thinks he owns your ending. He does not, I replied. And he never will. Outside the window. The tower loomed. My name carved in steel. And beside me. The woman who had once been erased. Now returning as my shadow. My strength. My proof. We were not going back. We were walking straight through the front door. The car pulled into the private entrance. Guards stepped aside, recognizing my face. But now they saw two. One returning from power. The other from silence. We entered through the executive lobby. Marble floors gleamed like polished bone. The receptionist stuttered at the sight of us. He nodded. Let them know I am here. She tapped frantically on her keyboard. But I was already moving. Purpose in every step. Not a daughter in search of approval, but a legacy demanding space. The boardroom doors stood at the end of the hall. Cold. Intimidating. She paused beside me. Touched the sapphire at my neck. Do you remember what you told me in Marseille? I looked at her. What? That he made you strong. But he never broke you. Smiled. She had remembered every word. The doors opened. 12 men sat around the table. One woman. Each face frozen mid-thought. At the head. My father. Ray. Still sharp. Still watching me like prey that dared grow teeth. His voice cracked through the air. You are not supposed to be here. I walked forward. Shaken. She followed behind me. I did not sit. Not yet. Instead, I placed my hand on the chair at the head of the table. The one he refused to give up. This is no longer yours, I said. Shifting bodies. Someone cleared their throat. He stood slowly. Voice icy. You think parading your mother around changes anything? I leaned forward. Voice razor sharp. No. But the truth does. I pressed the folder onto the table. Inside. Financial records. Legal threats. Evidence of blackmail. His crimes. His manipulations. His forged signatures. One by one, the board members opened their copies. Eyes widening. I turned to them. My father built an empire by control. But I built mine with clarity. With proof. With survival. He moved to speak. I raised a hand. You had your time. You spent it silencing women stronger than you. She is one of them. I gestured to my mother. She is not just family. She is my partner. I took the seat at the head of the table. The leather creaked beneath new command. He stood frozen. Face flushed. Breath shallow. I looked him in the eyes. I am not afraid of you anymore. He blinked. A flicker of something passed over his face. Panic. Disbelief. And then, for the first time, defeat. He turned. Left without another word. No applause followed. Only the sound of a door clicking shut. She sat beside me. Hands folded. Ill. But triumphant. I looked around the room. Each face turned toward me. Waiting. And I spoke. Clear. Unshaken. This company begins again today. With truth. With legacy reclaimed. With women history tried to erase. No one dared interrupt. Because they all knew. The old era had ended. And a new one had just begun. After the meeting, the boardroom emptied in silence. No congratulations. No resistance. Just the echo of shoes on marble and the weight of something final. She and I remained seated. The space was still. like it had been holding its breath for years. She reached over, gently closing the folder that had ended him. "You were brilliant," she whispered. I met her gaze. "You gave me the strength." She shook her head slowly. "No. I only reminded you of what was already there." Outside the window the city moved on, unaffected, unaware. But in this room the air had shifted. History had turned. I rose from my seat, walked to the edge of the long glass wall. The skyline stretched far. Glass and steel piercing blue sky. My reflection stared back at me. Not the discarded wife. Not the plain housekeeper he once mocked. But a woman who owned everything he tried to steal. She stood beside me, our silhouettes side by side. And then, from my coat pocket, vibration. Another message. From him. "You will regret this. I made you." I showed it to her. She read it once, then smiled. Quiet, dangerous smile. She took my phone, typed with steady fingers, then handed it back. "You tried. You failed. Now disappear." I hit send, and turned the screen off. There was nothing left to say to a man who mistook control for love. He took my arm, and together we stepped into the elevator. Floor by floor. We descended not as victims, but as architects of our own story. The doors slid open to the main lobby. Every eye turned. They saw her. They saw me. And they understood. Power did not always look the way they expected. Did not always shout. Sometimes it returned quietly, wearing history like armor. We walked through the lobby, past whispered greetings, past men who once dismissed me. She gripped my hand tighter. "Where now?" she asked. I looked ahead. A plan already forming. Now we build something they can never tear down. And outside, the city waited, no longer indifferent, but watching. Cameras flashed as we stepped onto the sidewalk. Reporters surged forward, voices rising like a tide. "Miss Ainsworth, is it true your father was removed? Who is the woman beside you? Are the rumors about the hidden heir accurate?" Pause. Let the noise settle into one steady hum. Then lifted my chin. "This is Evelyn Ainsworth," I said clearly. "My mother. The woman who raised me in truth. Even when the world buried her name." Gasps followed. Microphones inched closer. Flashbulbs popped like lightning. "She is not just part of my story," I added. "She is the beginning of it." She stood silent beside me, composed, unmoved. But her eyes glistened, not from fear, but from years of silence cracking into light. A reporter stepped forward, nervous, young. "Miss Ainsworth, what happens next?" I looked into the crowd, past the suits, past the lenses, to the people who had watched the headlines for months. I saw women, daughters, mothers, workers, fighters, and I answered, "Next, we lead. We rebuild with honesty. We rewrite everything they thought they owned." The crowd surged again, but we moved through it, like stone through water, unshaken. A black car waited at the curb. I opened the door for her. She slipped inside, followed. As we pulled away, the building faded behind us, but its shadow no longer followed. She looked at me, then reached into her purse, pulled out an envelope. "I was saving this," she said softly, "for the day I knew you were truly free." Opened it. Inside, photo of me as a baby, wrapped in her arms. Her smile was tired, but full, and tucked behind it, letter, written in shaky, determined ink. "To my daughter, if they ever let you find me." I held it to my chest, the weight heavier than any contract I had ever signed. She turned to the window, but I saw her reflection, eyes closed, breathing slow, peaceful, and for the first time, in a city built on power and cruelty, two women had finally won. The car wove through traffic. City sounds muffled behind the tinted glass, but inside it was quiet. I unfolded the letter slowly, each crease a whisper from the past. Her handwriting curved with care. shaky in places, but steady in truth. My sweet Evelyn, if you are reading this, it means you found me. Or I found the courage to let you. She turned her head toward me, watching, but not interrupting. Kept reading aloud. They told me you would forget me, that you would grow to hate me, that I was nothing compared to his world. But I prayed you would remember. Asterisk, not my face, not my voice, but the feeling of safety I gave you once. Asterisk. My throat tightened, the words blurred, but I continued. Asterisk, you were born in pain, but wrapped in love. Asterisk. I fought for you in the only way I knew. Asterisk, by leaving, so that one day, you could return with fire. Asterisk. She looked down, hands folded tightly in her lap. Silent tears streaked her cheek. I never wanted a crown for you, only freedom. But if you wear one now, wear it knowing it is yours. Asterisk, not his, not mine, hers. Asterisk. I folded the letter again, pressed it to my chest. The silence held something sacred. Softly, she whispered. I used to read to you when you were still in the crib, stories about queens and warriors. I never imagined you would become both. I reached across the seat, took her hand in mine. The city rolled on outside, but the storm had passed, not by fading, but by being walked through, step by trembling step. We were almost home. Not the house she had hidden in, not the tower I had conquered, but the place we would build together. A place where power was not stolen, or shared, where the past was not buried, but honored. The car turned onto a quiet street. Trees lined both sides, petals falling like confetti on the hood. And for the first time, truly, we arrived. The car came to a gentle stop. Birdsong filtered through the open window. The air smelled of jasmine and new beginnings. I stepped out first, turned to help her down. Her hand in mine, warm, steady. Before us stood a house. Not grand, not gilded, but quiet, bright, full of open space and sunlight. She looked at it, eyes scanning every corner. This is yours, she asked. No, I said softly. Ours. She took a slow breath, the kind people only take when they have survived. We walked up the path together. Step light, step free. Inside the rooms were bare, but filled with possibility. Windows wide open, curtains dancing in the wind. She paused in the doorway of the kitchen, ran her hand over the countertop. No silver, no servants. She smiled. Just peace. He nodded. That is all I ever wanted to give you. We sat by the window as afternoon slipped toward evening. The light turned golden, gentle, forgiving. I poured her tea. She added a sugar cube. And for the first time, we sat together not as what we had lost, but as what we had become. Mother, daughter, survivors. She looked at me, her eyes no longer shadowed by fear. You know, she said quietly, I think I am ready to be seen again. Smiled. You already are. And outside, the world kept turning, but this time, turned with us.